Welcome back to another episode of the Happiness Squad podcast. Today we have an incredibly special guest, Hilary DeCesare, the CEO of the Relaunch Company. Hilary is the visionary creator behind the 3HQ framework, ingeniously infusing neuroscience, modern personal development strategies, and ancient wisdom into a truly transformative process. This strategic blend taps into the brain's mechanisms, fostering profound neurological shifts that pave the way for enduring change. Through 3HQ, Hilary equips leaders in their mid-zone chapter of life with the tools for transformative growth, proving that understanding our brain's working is the key to unlocking our fullest potential. In today's episode, we delved into Hilary's 3HQ framework, head, heart, and higher self, for helping leaders navigate transitions and relaunch their careers and lives. Hilary shared the inspiration behind her book, Relaunch, Spark Your Heart to Ignite Your Life, and discussed the importance of cultivating resilience during personal and professional transitions. She also shared several practical tips that you can start to apply right away, like the tune-in process, recognizing limiting beliefs that she calls bugs, and the power of breath and pauses to elevate your energy state. Stay till the end, where Hilary encourages listeners to integrate these practices into their lives for transformative growth and provides an incredible gift that you can access to support your own relaunches. Hi, my dear friend. It is so lovely to have you with us here on the Happiness Squad podcast.
Ashish, I've been looking forward to this for so long, because we have just had this great connection from the moment we were both in a local Boulder magazine, and just by happenstance, right? They picked both of our books. And the first thing I said is, who is this? Who's this guy who wrote this book? I'm like, I need to meet him. We need to partner. We need to do as much as we possibly can together. And here we are.
So my question, Hilary, my first question for you is, I've loved your book, Relaunch, right? It was amazing that we were not only on the same magazine, but, when I picked up a copy of your book, you picked up a copy of my book. There was so much synergy. There was so much same wavelength. And so I want to talk a little bit, because I loved your book. It's called Relaunch. And I want you to share a bit of story about what inspired you to write it and the core message that you want readers to take away from it.
So really, the entire title, which I think is so important, is Relaunch, Spark Your Heart to Ignite Your Life. And when I thank you for putting that up. When I look at my purpose on what I'm supposed to be doing on this earth, it is to help individuals that are in there. I call them the midlifers, right? That age. I love Brene Brown says it's 35 until we're dead. Okay, so it puts a lot of us in this midlifer zone. But I really want to help people understand that we're all going to have these relaunches, these transitions, these times where it's going to demand out of us resilience, right? The opportunity to just lay down on a bed or a couch and just say, head in the sand. You can maybe do that for a little bit, but eventually you got to get back out there. And I had so many relaunches that I felt like I was on a relaunch roller coaster. And it was just beating me up. And it was personal relaunches. It was business relaunches. And then we have the global relaunches that we know what we're talking about. And there was one situation that happened that kind of literally took me out at the knees. And it was my mom's passing. She developed cancer. And within 14 months, she was gone. And my identity had always been around being on this earth into my hundreds. And why is that? Because every woman in our family had lived into their hundreds. So I was just like, of course. And all of a sudden, my mom was taken from us when she had just turned 78. And it was one of those, we're locked up with COVID. We can't do anything. My mom had just passed. And I started to just try to deal with how do you actually get through something so significant? And this book came to me in the middle of the night. It was one of those moments that I heard my mom's voice so clearly that you've always talked about writing a book. And my middle name is Hilary, it's Jane, Hilary Jane. I heard her saying, Hilary Jane, you've talked about writing this book. It's time. And it was very cathartic for me. It took me almost a year to write it. And I've been in the business world, Ashish, very much like you, very, corporate, high tech, Silicon Valley, Oracle for almost 10 years. And I was very left brain, very much this left brain approach, analytical. Give me processes and procedures and steps. And I was like, ooh, this is my jam. I'm like, good. But here's the thing. When I was writing this book, I realized my true success wasn't in the steps and the procedures. It's when I literally got out of my head and tapped something that I had never really thought about, which was my heart, tapped into my heart. And so the book came out of that need that we all are going to have relaunches, but how do we get through them with grace and dignity and, like you say, happiness?
I love that. And I'm going to recap that a little bit for our listeners, right? There's a couple of things here that you said that really spoke to me. They spoke to me when I read your book. I've now read it actually 2 or 3 times. It is literally marked up, friends. It's such a beautiful book. One, it's a really easy read, but at the same time, it's filled with such practical insights. I literally have it marked up. I'm going to show it for those who actually watch it on YouTube. Like every page has little clips everywhere, underlines, links to our own work. But here's what you're just saying, right? This notion that, look, we all will have multiple relaunches in our lives. Relaunches happen. We make them happen because we might face suffering or obstacles. And it's our choice on how, as we grieve them, decide to learn from them and chart a new life. And there are not enough tools, really available. And when we do have the tools, often, as you said, we go back to what we've always learned, especially in the business world, Hilary. We believe so much in our head. I can think my way, I can process my way, I can force my way through anything, that we actually forget to access, the other 3 H's that you outline in your 3HQ method. So I want to go there next and say, what was the method that you developed? Explain your 3HQ method on how individuals can really tap into not just their head, but 2 other important factors to support them in the relaunch.
Well, what is so interesting is that people always think, okay, you've got this transition. And like you said, multiple, right? Some of you who are listening right now might be going through one as we speak. You might have multiple. And here's what I know to be true. Here's what I can guarantee. Every single person is going to have a significant relaunch, whether it's happening now or it's coming down the pike. It will happen. And we have an opportunity to sit there and say a transition, like a relaunch, like a life-altering or a business-altering, right? It can be, you and I've talked about some business examples that were like, most people would never have to go through anything like it, but there it was. It was so impactful. And you have a choice with transitions to make them either powerful, empowering, or debilitating. So they can be positive in nature and transformation, or they could be negative.
Yes.
And a lot of times we don't think about that. We think about like, just get me through. I often talk about, there's a song, when you're in hell, just don't look back, right? Just keep going forward. And what I want to say is that, yeah, but eventually you're out of hell and then you're standing there and what the heck are you going to do? And so where I started to lean into this concept of what's next. Mm-hmm. What's next when something does hit you? How can you gracefully get through? And as you mentioned, there's a concept in the book called 3HQ, the headquarters of you. Your 3 H's are your head, your heart, and your highest self. And when I refer to highest self, I'm really talking about the best version of you, where I call your G zone, this zone of greatness, of gratitude, of growth, right? If your business is struggling, It's a direct indicator of what's going on with you inside. It's so brilliant. Like it's literally a mirror. So when we are so
Henry,
caught
can I
up
just pause you for a moment? Because that is it is beautiful, and I want to emphasize that for our listeners. Oftentimes we feel I am struggling because my business is struggling, right? We think about something happening there affecting us, but what you're saying is stop, reflect back, and consider maybe your business is struggling because you are struggling and not operating at your best. I think it's a really important shift that most people don't actually think about. They always blame the external for their struggles. And you're saying, actually, no, that's not true.
It's a mirror. If your business isn't performing the way that you always thought it would or should, ask yourself what's not performing in your own life, within your own self. If your relationships are struggling, I always say, it's funny, and I digress here, but I'm going to do this with you because it's such a funny story. I think it was about 10 years ago, I decided I was fascinated with like the whole online dating world and the model. And I had been a single woman and I had done online dating. And although it didn't work for me, I know that it works for so many people. But I thought, I'm really fascinated with what these matchmakers that are out there. And just like you, when I start thinking about something, it happens. And so I immediately was fascinated with this. Next thing you know, I'm meeting a woman who had a Harvard MBA, and from Harvard on, brilliant business mind. And she was a matchmaker. And I was so intrigued by this that I went and I thought, you know what I'd like? Not to learn how to match people with their significant other, but what if I could do this in the business world?
Yes.
How would that look? What would the tools from matchmaking lead me to? And so I went to New York. I became a certified matchmaker with the New York Institute.
I did not know that.
I know. See, I told you there's going to be things that I'm going to drop here that you're like, what? And then how I used it in my coaching practice we're talking like CEOs that are running, Fortune 500 companies. I said to them, let's talk about you dating yourself. Would you want to? How would that look? What are you doing right now to build up this relationship? Would you have a second date with you as you are today?
Yes.
And I got to tell you, it was one of those moments that I thought, this is where the magic is, because everyone said it isn't about the steps and the procedures. It's about the heart. It's about the connection. It's about this idea of, God, as soon as I get out of my head, out of my own way, I was able to meet so-and-so. So I said, well, let's get you out of your way right now in just getting to know you. And it's the best form of self-care. It's the best form that you could ever have. So now when you look at 3HQ and you've got the head and the heart, and a lot of times we get spun up in the head and we can't get out of our own way. It's when you've got not only these limiting beliefs, but you're not all about limiting beliefs. You're also about positive beliefs, empowering beliefs. And so it's those things that, as I go back to dating yourself, we want to really cultivate. We want more of the really good stuff, because when you focus on the really good stuff, what happens? It ends up being a direct indicator of what also can be in not just this area of your life, but other areas. So then you look at the heart connection. And there's a song about the 18 inches from your head to your heart and that connection. And I remember thinking, like, what's my heart feeling right now? And like asking it to tell me what's going on right now deep inside, and just putting your hand on your heart and asking the questions around the why. And I always say that you've got a wise wizard inside of you, and I have a wise woman inside of me. And when you start to really think about this concept around the whys, why am I doing what I'm doing? And then you ask the secondary why, and then you listen. Too many of us sit there and say, and I get this all the time, Hilary, my intuition just isn't working. It's not working. It just doesn't seem like it's firing for me. Yeah, I hear about people who have a heightened level of intuition. Yeah, Hilary, you've got it. And a lot of times people will say it's because you had your near-death experience and you came back and that's why. But I don't have that. But here's the thing. We all have it. It's, do we choose to actually not just hear it, but listen and take action on it? And that's the key. When you start to put the head, the heart, it starts to bring almost like this ever loop together. And that's when you feel in connection with that greater version of you.
Your higher self.
Your higher self.
So I love that. And so I want to, over the next couple of questions, dig into each one of these because I think they are so beautiful. I think just friends, listen for a moment to what Hilary's saying. It's about getting out of our head. It's about listening, not just hearing. Frankly, I would say, Hilary, yes, there are, 18, right? From our head to the heart, 18 inches, you said, right?
According to the song, who knows, right?
Most people are numb below, so many of people I coach, they're actually numb below their necks, They don't even feel. Step number one, almost just know that you have a heart. Know that it's beating. How it's beating is a big indication of how you're feeling and from what state are you actually activating, right? Heart rate variability is a real thing. And often we are caught in the sympathetic and not even being able to access that deeper intuition. So this notion of you have a heart, we can actually tune into our heart, we can activate our parasympathetic and find into a space where only when we silence the mental chatter, the noise, are you going to listen. Are you really going to listen? Because the mind screams, the heart whispers. But you listen to it. So I want you over the next set of questions. Let's start with the heart. We'll go next to the head, and then we'll go to the higher self. Just some real practical ways that in your book you cover ways that listeners can start to tap first into the wisdom of the heart. So where should somebody start? They're like, okay, I got it. You have me convinced. I can do it. How do I do it?
So Ashish, this is so important to realize. And unfortunately, in the last 2 weeks, I've had to witness this. So I'd like to share a little story. When you think about your body and the fact that it is all energy, and when people have heart attacks and when things happen where you have to start the heart back up, what do we use? We use what's
electricity. Yeah,
exactly. And what they perform is what's called a cardiac version. And it's the paddles that charge, that get your heart to beat again. And unfortunately, I had to witness this procedure not even 2 weeks ago with one of my family members. Heart was beating at 165 beats, and they needed to regulate it. And so I was given a document to sign that basically said, this will kill the person. This will give a heart attack to the person. This will give a stroke to the person, or it could work. It could get the heart beating again. And here's what the TV shows don't show you. The violence of the shock, yes, the energy that goes into the paddles. The body literally like jumps out, but it is the most painful, screams coming out. And I saw the monitor start to beat again at a normal level. Fortunately, it worked. But here's the thing. When you think about your heart, when you think about what's there, what's the emotions, we all have, and I expressed this before, we all have these limiting beliefs about ourselves. I call them bugs in the book, beliefs underground surfacing.
Yes.
And a lot of times these are emotional blocks that we have. Emotional blocks. And when I say, when you are depressed, stuck, feeling stressed out, your energy level based on your emotions is at a low vibration. And so what we need to be doing from a heart capacity is leveling, especially if you're a goal setter, if you are trying to accomplish something that hasn't happened for you at this point in your life, or trying to get through a relaunch and you're feeling like you're just at a very low level, the thing that we have to be working on is elevating our emotional energy. And that's heart. So I have these tools in the book around the belief blaster, around elevating your energetic level. And the fastest one, and I've taken you through this, Ashish, is the tune-in process.
Let's go through that. Let's share that with the folks, because it's so powerful.
It's so powerful. And here's the thing. Anybody can become a master in 2 minutes or less. That's the greatest part. So it's not like there are some things that I teach in the book that I share that take 62 to 67 days. It's all based around science. You have to put in the work to do it. But this one is fun. Tune in allows you to energetically increase where you are at that moment, and for a brief amount of time, elevate you to be able to get through a meeting, be able to be on a show like this and really connect with the audience, to be able to write those social media posts, to be able to negotiate whatever you're going to do. So instead of what's easy for all of us on this planet to tune out, to avoid, I'm asking everyone to tune in instead. 4 steps. And the first step of tune in is around thinking about the challenge that you're going through right now in your business or your personal life. So Ashish, what is the challenge that you're going through right now that you could share with us?
We hope you're enjoying this episode. If you'd like to start building habits and integrating the Hardwired for Happiness practices into your life, come check out Rewire, our program on the Happiness Squad website. Rewire contains 30 5-minute micro practices that can help you truly build habits for a happier, healthier life filled with more love and meaning. The program uses the science of habit formation and the power of community to support you in moving from knowing to doing to being. Now, back to the episode. So a challenge that I'm going through in my business is how do we really scale our offering, the Rewire offering, which is built on science of habit formation, to rewire our brains through the yoga community, to make it accessible to all the yogis, right? To take them from not just physical well-being, but to access the emotional, spiritual, and the mental well-being aspects of yoga that are so lost in almost all studios today.
Outstanding. So to net it out, how do we scale your incredible program in the yogi community, right? That's the challenge. That's what you don't have happening yet, which means it's something that you're thinking about. It's not happening. Like, why hasn't it happened yet? Where is that? How do I access what I need to do to make that a reality? So that's step 1. What's the biggest challenge? Step 2 now is change the channel. Elevate your energy. And the way I do this, the way I get people to do this is I want to know what is a song, Ashish, that when you hear it, it lights you up. You can't be low energetic energy when you hear this song. What's a song?
So for me, that song is Happy.
I knew it. Okay, I love it. We all are listening to it now. Now, here's the thing. We're on a show right now. So we're going to do this in our own heads. But if you were alone in your office or somewhere where you could put it on with your earpods or you could put it on out loud, the key from a neuroscience perspective is to listen to it for 20 seconds. This is how we change our state. We take it from our head to our toes, and I want you to hear happy. I want you to think about it. I want you to hear it. I want you to turn it up right now. Take it from your head. Move your body. Move your body right now. Okay? All right. Are you hearing it? I see the big smile for those that aren't. He is like in his element, as we all know Ashish to be. He loves this state. Okay. So now we have elevated ourselves above the energetic level of a challenge. So now we go into step 3. And step 3 is where I create you into the star of your own movie. You are the star. You are on stage. And guess who's out in the audience? The opposite of what has been the challenge, which is, hey, I want this product to start scaling in the yogi community. I've got thousands of yogis that are all surrounding you. You are on the stage. They are cheering. And the opposite of the challenge is they all want what you have right now. So I want you to see a color, whether you're wearing it or you're looking out. What would that color be?
It's orange.
Okay, I want you to intensify the orange. It is so vibrant, so bright. Again, we are lighting up the brain right now. And I want you to think about that song, Happy. And here you're seeing the orange. You're seeing all these people out there. You're creating the Academy Award version of this mini movie in your mind. And I want you to tell me how you're feeling right now. What's going through? What is an emotion that you're feeling?
Oh, I mean, so much joy and just joy and gratefulness, you know.
Okay, you're going to take joy. You're going to take joy. You're going to take gratefulness. You're going to intensify that orange color. And what we're going to do is we're going to lock in, anchor in this moment in time where you're having these people screaming at you saying, I want that product. And I want you to literally take a selfie of yourself. And you're going to hold your hand up, your arm, and you're going to take a picture. When I say click, take a picture internally of that image, okay? Put your hand up, click, open and close your eyes. Do you have the picture?
Yes.
Okay. Now we're going to go on to step 4. And step 4 are these pops, these micro pops, these micro actions. And for every pop, we're going to have a small action that you can do. So you're going to listen to your song again, tune into the song. And then I want to ask you, what is one pop that you could do right now, as soon as we get off this call, that would allow, because success likes speed, what could you do? Think of the happy song. What could you do right now that would move you one closer to that image, that mini movie in your mind? What would that be?
Well, I need to call the person who's organizing the Awake Festival in September where we are presenting.
Awesome. That's as small as it needs to be.
That's it.
Now, what if, Ashish, what if you did 3 pops in a day? What would that look like in 5 days? 15 pops, 15 movements forward. This is the power of the tune-in process. This is what we're talking about. And I just want to like cement this in, okay? There was a time at Oracle. We had just closed one of the biggest transaction in Oracle history. And the client gave me a bottle of Dom Perignon. I took it. I was like, yes. I went back to my office. I put it on the top shelf and I sat back down at my desk and I said, I'm going to drink that. I'm going to pop that when I close the next big deal. Well, guess what happened? The next big deal happened. And I said, well, I'm now going for promotion. I'll pop it when. I'll pop it when.
We keep playing that when game.
That when game always never panned out. I never popped the champagne. So then I'm leaving Oracle, as I said, almost 10 years. And I see the bottle and I pull it down. I literally am on my office chair. You know, I'm grabbing it down. I have to blow off the dust.
Yes.
That's on that bottle. And you know what I did? That day I went home and I popped the champagne. And I promised
Oh my
myself
God.
never again would I wait. I want people to celebrate the small pops and pop the champagne, figuratively, literally, give yourself a high five, dance around, whatever it is that is your form of a celebration. Because what that does is it encourages you to do more tune-ins, to have more pops, and to have a better process towards getting the goals that we're actually seeking. So the more you can put this on your calendar, again, it's 2 minutes or less, the
I
more
love it.
success you'll have.
I love it. And that's long it took, right? And I think it's so powerful. And I loved it when I read it the first time we did it. And again, right? It's so powerful, friends, because at the heart of it, what it is allowing you to access is when we are burdened by the challenges don't go away, right? So don't, I know because there's enough Hilary in our circuit who would be like, oh, wow, that's, okay, come on. Like that is so woo-woo and like whatever. That's not going to change anything. It actually does. And I'll tell you why. And I'm going to give you 2 pieces of most recent work that's come out on this. But the first, let me just tell you from my own experience why it works. If you look at energy states, when we are dealing with an obstacle, we tend to go into fear, anxiety, worry, resentment, many of these things, because things aren't happening the way we want. And so we struggle with that. From that lower energy state, creativity is not possible. Our brain starts ruminating, playing back over and over and over on prior strategies that we have run and get stuck in it. So the first thing that this process is allowing us to do is use the power of music and visualization to take us to a different place. When Hilary asked me to move my body and listen to the song, that energy is like a gravity. It pulls you from your lower state to a higher state. From there, when you visualize, that's kind of the energy. Look, everything we experience out there, we experience here. Before anything got created out there, it got created in here. No innovation, nothing you have created out there happened before it got created here, right? Always we create here. So that's in effect what Hilary did is connect, say, imagine it's already happened. So it happened here. You put an energy out there. Some people would call it manifestation. Till 6 weeks ago, manifestation still was kind of this kind of weird thing that people talk about. Get a copy of the book called Mind Magic that just got released 2 weeks ago by James Doty, who's a neuroscientist out of Stanford. It's all on the power of manifestation. That's what Hilary did. And then she didn't stop there, right? So low energy, high energy, put the energy out there of imagining, but she didn't stop there. She then made it actionable like any good business person would. What is 2 or 3 small things that you're going to do, pops, that will move you there, right? Because guess what doesn't happen from the low energy state? We don't take action. We like to think, we don't do. And what she invited is do. And nothing moves you forward like momentum.
So true.
And that is the power of tune in. I loved it there, Hilary. This was amazingly powerful. Share another tool and you can choose from any of the others. Choose another one because this book is filled with so many practical ways that when people are stuck, they can get unstuck. So what's another tool you would share with our listeners?
Well, I'm going to say one more thing based on what you just said about mind magic. As you know, you and I are both junkies around this neuroscience. And if people know about the happy hormones that are in your brain that get released, these neurotransmitters, the dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, I refer to these as your daily dose, DOSE. And what's so incredible is that in the tune-in process, you get a daily dose. All 4 of these neurotransmitters, these happy hormones, are actually released as you tune in each time. It's so mind It's mind altering, right? It's what
Absolutely.
we have inside of us. So I just had to share that you actually get a daily dose every time you tune in. So it's not just like, it really truly is so good for you. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I think about another one, and I know we've talked about the heart, and I think one of the biggest challenges for people is to get out of that head. So let's just talk about a really simple way for you to get out of your head. I call it the pause principle. The pause principle. We are all very, busy individual. I mean, we're busy being busy. And we can't even, many times, I've heard so many people say, I don't have any time. I have no time to do that. And here's the thing, just like you just learned with Tune In, it takes 2 minutes or less to have such a massive impact on you. So the pause principle is you literally, they talk about breathing. And when, for those that have watched life being taken out of people, like I held my mom's hand as she passed on, you realize the significance of the breath. And as you pass, it starts to get more shallow and shallow. And it's a very interesting guttural, almost like, and then it goes shallow and then it gets more shallow. So when you think about what life is that breathing. And there are all these different ways to breathe. And I'm not going to teach you how to do that right now. But what I want you to realize is that scientifically, when you pause for a moment, you're feeling within yourself, and you can ask the question. Again, you heard me say about the wise woman or the wizard that's inside of you, that wise wizard for men. I want you to really think, if you don't pause, you again can't access the wise woman or the wise wizard. You can't. They speak when it's quiet. Why do we wake up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock a.m.? And you were like, oh my God, I have the greatest ideas flowing through my, my body right now. This is so huge. It's because you're allowing yourself to pause. So what I like to do is throw in some of the pause, like exercises throughout the day, just moments of check-in of, where am I right now? Wow, I'm breathing so shallow. It's known that when you are high stress, it's these short. So maybe just giving yourself, like, I literally take a deep breath in. I bring in white light, clean breath, clean light. And as I'm breathing out, I can see the dark, the gray coming out. It's a visual. In with this bright, clean sense, and out with the darkness, with anything that's holding you down from being creative. But you got to give yourself, and literally this takes less than a minute. I got all these, very short, but the pause principle is one that awakens you. It awakens your creativity. It turns on the right brain versus being so, matter of fact, this is what I need to do. And I often just put my hands on my stomach as just the first, and I form a heart when I put it on my stomach. I just literally place them. So you have that heart, because again, what we're trying to do is bring the heart in connection with the entire body. And I breathe in and I feel my tummy, like a Buddha belly, expand, and that clean, fresh light, orange light for you, Ashish, that wonderful light. And then I breathe out to the point where there's no breath left in my body, almost to the point where I'm coughing at the end. And those little pieces of dark light being done. And that's one of the greatest things that I can do, because I can do it even when I'm walking from a meeting to another meeting. Even when I'm like, okay, I need a pit stop for a second, I can do it then. So again, it's giving you some of these, but I like to tie things into really, how does it work with 3HQ? How does it all tie in together?
Yeah.
Because if you're just thinking about pause, head, I get it, Hilary, but when you're really tying it into the rest, it becomes even more powerful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Pause and mindful breaks are a core part of the programs we run. They're so scientifically backed, friends. This is kind of one of the, as I read the book, I was like, this was kind of so beautiful because like, oh my God, like we were on the same wavelength because we were discovering through all of our research that, the same set of truths. And I think if you apply them to your life, they will make a big difference like it's made for Hilary and I. I also read, I'm a big fan, as many of you know, of Thich Nhat Hanh and his teachings. And I was reading a book and I'm going to just, there was this phrase he says, because a lot of us believe that we just have to keep moving to get things done. And, if you're sitting, especially in the face of a challenge, the most common advice is don't just sit there, do something. Right? There's a challenge. Don't sit there, do something. And his invitation is don't just do something, sit there. Sit there. Take a pause. Tune in. Listen to your heart. See how you're feeling. You will notice in your body if you're in an activated state, which is not a state we want to be operating in because it's caustic for you and for your body. You can't access your intuition. 1 to 2 minutes. As Hilary outlines, place a heart. Really breathe in, breathe out, whatever's the tension, the struggle that's holding you down, and breathe in the good. Just breathe in the oxygen. We breathe so shallow all the time. We're not even fully using the capacity of our lungs. And that's so powerful of what just Hilary shared. Thank you, Hilary. I know you and I can go on, but I know you have to head out. So I want to pass it back to you and say, what's one piece of advice, Hilary, that you would have for our listeners? That would be an invitation. You've helped thousands of people do their relaunches. So what would be an invitation or advice that you would have that you would leave our listeners with?
So I would challenge everybody. Start with tuning in 1 time a day, then 3 times a day, and see what actually happens. Because what I have seen in all of, and I talk startup to selling businesses for hundreds of millions of dollars, we all have limiting beliefs. There's only been one person who has ever said, I've done so much work, I don't have any more limiting beliefs. I have no bugs. And you know what I said to her? Okay, I've never heard of that, but people who work for you have bugs. They have limiting beliefs. And how are you going to be a great leader if you don't understand what happens to people and the triggers that happen? And again, it's dating yourself. You got to start with you. And the tune-in process allows you to start with you and say that tuning out isn't getting you to where you want to go, that lifestyle of success. The lifestyle of success that includes a business that you're so proud of, relationships that you're so proud of, and that most important relationship within yourself that you should be so proud of.
Thank you, my friend. Such beautiful advice. I am grateful to have you in my life. And as a neighbor, you're so close to us. I can't wait to get our families together in June. And thank you for all the beautiful work that you're doing and creating out there.
Ashish, thank you for everything that you're doing. And I do have one special gift for your listeners. If they want to read more of the science behind the tune-in process, I have a free downloadable PDF. You can go to tuneinpowertool.com, tuneinpowertool.com, and check it out because it will give you the steps again, and it will also give you science behind it.
Wonderful. Take care, my friend. Bye.
Thank you again for all you're doing.
That wraps up another episode of the Happiness Squad podcast. We hope you found the insights actionable to enhance your journey towards happiness and fill your life with more joy, health, love, and meaning. Please consider leaving us a review and share the podcast with anyone in your professional or personal life who you feel will benefit from some of these very insights. It's a really simple way to extend support and spread positivity. Take care, and remember, happiness is a choice that's available to you moment to moment in the here and now. Take care and see you next week.